What's the worst thing you face?
The smell. When the bodies were under the buildings here, there's
The smell of death.
Yeah, there's nothing worse than that. I'd always heard of it as a metaphor or a phrase, but when we first arrived, it was everywhere.
The smell of death and wholesale destruction. That's what greeted the 216-strong Canadian military's Disaster Assistance Response Team when it arrived in Kashmir. With water facilities and hospitals in ruins, DART's mission was to provide primary medical support and supply clean water, helping bridge the gap between the end of search and rescue and the start of major reconstruction. It was not going to be an easy run. The camp had to be built from scratch. Living conditions were not five-star hotel. You lived in better conditions.
Yes, and worse too, so. You gotta look at it that way.
And food came from ration packs. And for the Canadians, there was no escaping the constant reminder of why they were here.
It's hard to come to a place like this and not be a little down and, feel sad for the people that live here. I mean, we get to go home after so many days of being here, whereas these people have to spend the rest of their lives here.
Faced with the reality of the need, the Canadians put in the long hours. They accepted that as part of the job as soldiering. But they could not escape the feelings about the plight of the population, especially the kids.
I have kids, so I think seeing kids without homes, living in tents, it's a big culture shock.
And there is another price these men and women pay, being away from their own families.
Love you too, babe. Bye.
You have a 4-year-old.
Yes, I do, yeah.
And he misses you.
Well, he does now. He's asking my wife quite a bit about me now almost every day. So he goes, when's Daddy coming home? There's got to be, and he looks at his watch and he thinks, when's Daddy coming home?
Still, there is immense pride in a job well done under tough circumstances, a fact recognized by the Pakistan government.
The DART team have done a magnificent job, and this is something the people of Pakistan will remember for a long, long time.
But the highest accolades are always from your peer group. In this case, the commander of the NATO disaster relief team, which is now just arriving in Kashmir as the DART leaves.
I have to say, I think they're doing heroic work. They're in one of the more challenging areas. They have an enormous task, and I think they've done it in an exemplary fashion.
I left Kashmir knowing I would miss these men and women whom I met. I also realize that we ask much of our military, but too often give them little support. And I wondered what will be the fate of this little boy who lived in a tent by the DART camp. Would he remember the Canadians? Would he, I asked myself, survive the bitter winter to come?